Learning more about religions. I studied Buddhism, I studied Hinduism, I studied Zoroastrianism. I actually did like Zoroastrianism. I studied quite a bunch of other religions, Christianity, everything. And then I settled on Islam because, believe it or not, Islam made the most sense to me. And even scientifically, literally, scientifically, Islam was what made the most sense. And like I said, I will explain it, right?
Here is a TikTok creator who is replying a comment he got about why he chose Islam over Christianity. The problem here is not about him choosing Islam, but the reasons he gave for his decision. They're all misconception about Christianity than a reason. The reasons he gave for choosing Islam over Christianity is absurd owing to the fact that he claimed to have studied and even at one point practiced Christianity. Let's address the reasons he made.
So, when I started reading up on all religions, I noticed one thing. The first thing that stood out for me about Islam was that the first command that God gave to mankind. In Christianity is, thou shalt, some 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no graven image of God in heavens above or whatnot. Every Christian has violated that shit. But the first command you were given, they violated by putting the cross on. But for me, I noticed in Islam, the first command that God gave to man was Iqra. Read. So he didn't say worship me. He didn't say bow to me. He said go seek knowledge. And that for me, I liked it. Kept going.
Firstly, the cross is not a disobedience to any of the 10 commandments as you claimed. Instead, it's a symbol of devotion and not idol worship. I believe no Christian worships the cross.
In the Bible, the 27 books in the Bible, right? 13 were written by Paul. 13 were written by one guy, Paul. But here's the thing. Paul never met Jesus. Paul never met Jesus, and he founded the religion that basically a fuck ton of people are in. And then it made me realize the Bible is literally a Christian hadith. Like in Islam, we have the hadith, which is a collection of the lives of the Prophet, his sayings and teachings and whatnot. And that is literally what Paul did with the Bible. So the Bible that people take as sacrosanct is, trust me, Jesus said this, trust me, Jesus said this, trust me, Jesus said that. That is it, right?
There's a lot of wrong information here, but let's start with the Bible has more than 27 books. I believe you're talking about the New Testament. What Paul wrote were letters, 13 of them not books. They were written to people or churches at that time. You're right, Paul never met Jesus physically, but he did in a vision where Jesus appeared to him in Acts 9:3-5. And no, Paul was not the founder of Christianity. Jesus Christ is the founder as he is the role model of all Christians. Christ, the leader, Christians, the followers. Paul played a major role in spreading it, yes, but he wasn't the founder. How could he be the founder of a religion he persecuted before his conversion? Paul met with the companions of Jesus like Peter, James, and others who knew Jesus personally in Galatians 1:18 and Galatians 1:19. Also, Muhammad never met Jesus, neither did he meet with any of Jesus' companions or even church elders, yet you trust him to tell you the truth about Jesus. If Paul's encounter is based on trust me bro, then you shouldn't trust Muhammad either.
I noticed that the Bible did not focus on the teachings and the life of Jesus. It focused more on his death, his resurrection, and everything after. While he was alive, what were his teachings? What did he say? Like, I feel like that should have been focused. There should have been heavy focus on what he was doing while he was here, what he was saying, what he was teaching. His life. There's not.
Luke gave us the most detailed part of Jesus, his birth, life, teaching, and miracles. Same goes for the book of Mark. Each book of the gospel focuses on different aspects of Jesus. For example, the book of Matthew shows his teachings and Jesus as the Messiah to Jewish audience. Book of Mark shows the actions of Jesus to Roman audience. Book of Luke shows the life and childhood of Jesus to Greek or non-Jewish audiences. Book of John shows the divinity of Jesus to all believers. The Bible gave a more detailed story of the teachings of Jesus and all the prophets than the Quran. In fact, the Quran steals a lot of his stories from the Torah, Bible, and other Christian sources, going as far as stealing ideas from no forgeries like the Book of Thomas, etc., and twisting it into the Quran. Well, that's a story for another day.
Another thing is, Islam also talks about a fetus, how a fetus looks like. Like literally, it says the first stage of a fetus looks like chewed gum. I can't remember what it's called in Arabic, mudda or something like that. And then hundreds of years later, we learn what a fetus looks like. Islam talks about the oceans that never mix.
The Quran does reference fetus development, but that does prove anything. The Bible is not a science textbook, neither is the Quran also if you look at it more scientifically. The Quran doesn't give detailed scientific account of what a fetus should look like or be. That's not some kind of miracle.
There's this one now, Surah Al-Fatiha. Every Muslim recites Surah Al-Fatiha 5 times a day before when you pray. The first two surah, and so in the first two verses of Surah Al-Fatiha are God, the sustainer and cherisher of all worlds. All worlds with an S, not cherisher and sustainer of the world, no, cherisher and sustainer of all worlds. Why is that significant? Well, there's a verse in the Bible, in the Quran, where I can't remember specifically where an angel was saying time is linear, like time to us on earth is different to them in the heavens. So a second for them in the heavens is an equivalent of 50,000 years for us on earth. And I'm like, holy shit.
To Peter 3:8, Psalm 92 for already said that, a 1,000 years is like a day to God. Is not unique to Islam. As Christians, we already know that God is the sustainer of all life.
What else again? Oh, another thing I like, go in the Bible, the Torah and everything, and just seriously look every single prophet. When they pray to God, how do they do it? Look at Muslims today, when they pray to God, how do they do it?
Islam is based off Christian and Jewish sources. Have you seen how Orthodox and Coptic Christians pray? Muslims literally copied them, and everything you said after this point is highly debatable and not universal. There are also scientists and atheists who would prefer Christianity to Islam. I am convinced that you never did any proper research on Christianity, if these are the reasons you have for choosing Islam over Christianity. Please do more research so you don't sound ignorant. God bless.